Access granted.
So originally, when we get there to the floof, the original intent was just to have a big show don't tell kind of piece to really have the players understand what kind of structure was there that was separating lower and upper ancient.
Yeah, that basically having a construct like that would be an extreme engineering feat, right? This slab that's separating both cities, if you want, wouldn't just be a flat concrete thing, right? It'd be like you'd have tons of engineers working on it, and that's why you see this little kind of little train passing by that's probably transporting these engineers to different spots around the floof and all that. So that was important to us.
And
but
we call it the
you
floof.
keep referring to it as the floof. The in-game name is the Pengu, but the reason
and what does
we
Pengu mean as well?
It's a character from Chinese mythology. I can't remember right offhand what it is, but the origin of the word floof and why we keep calling it floof is because we kept referring to this great big ramp as basically the floor for upper Hengsha and the roof for lower Hengsha, so we just kind of say it's the floof, and everybody kept calling it the floof for the longest time, and I think even in one of the dialogues we actually have
It was the slang
Jensen
for
call
the
it
place,
floof, and I remember Elias reacting to that name going like, what? And then when we explained what it meant, he couldn't believe the simplicity of that. It was really funny.
And it's cool that we left it in the game. It's like that's what people do culturally. When there's weird things around them, they find names for them and all.
And they call them that way.
They call them that way.
It
yeah.
added the credibility to this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nevertheless, like that was supposed at first to just be a show don't tell room, but our lead level designer René Martin Posé really felt that something was missing here, that we needed more gameplay and everything, and he really pushes level designers to try to integrate some sort of physics puzzle into the mix and everything, and it became this little place where you have to either shut the electricity or take the boxes to go around and climb over it. And it was it felt slightly like Half-Life kind of the puzzle you would find in such kind of games. And as we play tested the game, it was one of the moments in the floof that it became one of the favorite of the players. They really enjoyed that little puzzle, but that's the only place where we had it.
So this is a pretty funny place because in the entire game, I think we have like 2 elevators where there's stuff in it. So we can see here there's like crates and pallets and stuff like that, and that's about it. I think there's only one other, and I don't know why we did that.
We had the restrictions.
Did we?
Like with the bodies of NPCs and stuff, it was complicated to.
I remember one moment where we were thinking to put like a force field in front of an elevator so no physical objects were going down. And then this is when you have a crazy idea, then you go see the game director and say we have to do that because of this and that, and then you know that it breaks the immersion. But we had
And you know that the game director will
and you know the game
And
director
they
is
will say
looking
no,
at
so
you with
we-
evil eyes.
So sometimes we know that we'll find solution with the physics programmer that spend I don't know lots of time working on bringing ragdolls like
But
dead
now
bodies and crates in the
But
elevator.
it ended up working. We can bring bodies in the elevator.
It
right?
works.
Yeah.
Just the problem we said no NPC will wake up on a different floor.
So instead of making the rest of us unhappy, we just made the physics programmer unhappy.
Exactly.
Okay, not too bad.
Damn, if I knew.
Jensen, what is it you're looking for exactly?
Some kind of surveillance recording. Van Bruggen said he stashed it on a server somewhere.
He must have meant the data core room. Very high security. It'll be a couple of floors up from where the elevator lets you off. But the first corridors you'll pass through will be public, so you might want to keep any weapons concealed.
Copy that.
Well, Taiyang Medical was a very interesting map to build. Like we referred in other small stories in the beacons. That map ended up being too big, and we had to cut it. And we also wanted to reflect a little bit on the upper anxa that we had to cut as well, and everything. But also it was kind of a mix of a social map mixed with a restricted area like behind enemy line maps. So we had a part where it was more kind of like, okay, all the workers, and you just get in there, and probably it's not each employee that knows everybody, and you can go in there, but there are some guards, and the guards are more they are protecting the restricted areas, and when you cross those areas, now you're behind enemy line, and we had those people, and you could mess up, and we had to manage the chaos with the workers, and then with the security guards, and all that kind of thing. It had been a very, very complicated thing to pull off, because as we were moving
There's
forward,
the robots as well.
the robots, but as we were moving forward, we realized that the design rules were not always super clear, and as we were building those maps and facing those problems, we were forced to really acknowledge them in finding solutions and what would give you the right feeling, and while maintaining the credibility of that place. But it has been nightmarish for I would say
Tough map.
at least a year and a half. Yes.
Access granted.
So here's another good example of, I've been repeating this a few times, of taking a place that's like a location genre, if you want, that's extremely commonplace in video games. For example, here, a laboratory, and give it a new spin. It's very easy to make them look kind of all the same and not really generate lots of flavor or ways for the place to be memorable. So here's the idea. You have this lab with this very kind of modern, contemporary lighting fixtures and installation on the ceiling, and also a bit of the weight of the walls or design and whatnot. That's a lot of what we tried to do, and it just makes you remember them a little more, hopefully.
Gotcha. Let's go.
Sources close to the multinational giant inform me that it has successfully purchased rival Scotland. And today, as rumors began to surface, accusing CEO Oliver McTavish of embezzlement. McTavish denied the allegations, but could not explain how millions of dollars in revenue ended up in his personal account.
Access granted.
So this is the data core room where you need to get according Van Bruggen's information. The thing is that it's funny. It's one of the few rooms or places in the game where you have laser challenges. As we build a game, oftentimes we start by building the ingredients and everything, and then eventually we build the maps and try to use them. But as we build the maps, we kind of realized that all the environments we were visiting and everything were not necessarily having the right logic to take advantage of some of the ingredients. And we were like, our lead level designer, René Martin Posé, had these guys working on some gyms and trying to find cool ways to use the lasers and stuff. And it was hard to really make them fit in the game, and therefore here with the data core room, where it's supposed to be heavily guarded because there's a lot of secret information and everything, we went like, okay, hey, that would kind of make sense to use those ingredients here, and this is where we put it. The only regret, so I think in the end it works well. The only regret I have is that with the our alarm system, it was kind of hard to give a very clear feedback to the players, because if you're detected by a laser and you're very far away from the alarm panel, like the sound doesn't go really to you. Like you hear it, but it's very low, it's very subtle. And if you were not paying attention, probably you didn't realize that it was the alarm was triggered, and now you see those bell towers guard coming to you, and you're like, what the hell happened? Like sometimes it wasn't clear enough, like if you were detected by the lasers or not. So, but in the end, it was not too bad.
Pritchard, I'm retrieving Van Bruggen's evidence now. Is Sarah patched in?
Right here, Adam. I'm listening.
I just heard that your team is mobilizing in Detroit. Why wasn't I informed of this sooner?
Tactical assignments are not your concern.
Reed and her team have subdermal GPL implants. They'll be tracked. Kidnapping them was a mistake.
Montreal took care of that.
Forgive me if I don't put as much faith in our friend Eliza as you do. She's too erratic.
Your concerns are noted, but I would advise you to concentrate on your own assignments instead of interfering with mine. Namir out.
Boss, did you get that?
I heard. I just...
Megan and the others. They're alive.
We've got to stay focused. Zawa's a residence at the top of the tower. It's off limits to everyone except her and her guards. Now get up there and find out what she knows.
Bold maneuver by Viper.
Access granted.
So if you gave Ari Van Bruggen a gun in Tai Young Medical, you will have just heard him contact you, or are about to hear him contact you, to hack your bank account. It was one of the fun little ways that we wanted to play off that reward to give you something. And it also ties into kind of the philosophy that I had about the briefers. I've always hated it in different games when people can contact you on these private channels and just know where you are and know how you are and who you are, and they can just get in and you have no idea who they are.
Now you're politically correct, because with us you were referring to the SX1.
I was not. But at any rate, it was a really important point for me, and to make sure that every time anyone contacted Jensen, there was a reason that they could do it. So usually the only ones who would do it would be Seraph, Malik, and Pritchard, and every once in a while someone else would, and there would always be a reason. And I think this was one of my favorite ones, when Ari could just hack, and of course he could hack because he's this world-class hacker.
Actually, it reminds me the first external playtest we did for the alpha build. We had this player that actually wasn't this part of the game, and what Mary's talking about was already implemented, and he was really into what he was doing, and then he gets to the point where Van Bruggen contacts him, and I remember the guy like just removing his helmet and turning around and looking at us like, oh my god, like, how did he contact me? And like, oh, he couldn't understand, like, he was so surprised that he managed to get into your bank account. And the fact that all that to say that Mary's philosophy seemed to add an impact on some players, and it was really well done. And for him, it was a very interesting surprise.
Hey, Sarif, man.
Son of a bitch. Van Bruggen?
Just thought you'd want to know. I survived that little surprise party back at the hotel. And I'm sailing away from this shithole as we speak. All because of you.
You want to thank me? Forget you ever had this frequency.
I got a better idea. I'm looking at your bank account right now, and, you know, Sarif really ought to pay you more.
Van Bruggen?
No need to thank me, man. Just enjoy it.
So here's a little maquette, a little scale model of the Tai Young Medical building. And when the artist showed it to me, I was like, but what is this? This is way too small. I'm like, what is this, for ants? It needs to be at least 3 times bigger. And we ran out of time, so we could never do it 3 times bigger.
But the architect scale model really show us like what the Tai Young Medical facility is.
Yes,
it's
it
like
really
the
does.
Foundations of the entire universe for Tai Young Medical, right?
That's exactly what it is, because once they had this, then they were able to build a real one. But joking aside, the reason why we put it there is because when we had the entire map in the Upper Angsha, we could literally see the building, and the whole thing was designed, concept arted, everything built. But when we cut it, we didn't have
Upper Angsha, you mean?
What did I say?
Lower Angsha.
Lower Angsha, sorry, Upper Angsha. And then when we cut Upper Angsha, the player had no conception of what that building looked like anymore. So we said, you know what? Often in building, there's a little maquette, there's a little scale model of that building inside that was done by the architectural firm that's built the building. And this is what that is.
Funny how that happens.
So here again, a room that I really like that represents really well the staples of the art direction. Everything is in there, contemporary design, art installation, the Baroque for the Cyber Renaissance and whatnot. The idea again is that Zhao is the one that's dealing with transhumanistic technologies in the most wrong way, if I could say. So the idea is that the room is in the sun. It's literally burning like Icarus, because if you look, it makes no sense. There's sun coming from all directions of the penthouse, where you can't really have this. Sun is one way directional. So, but we didn't care about this. So it's literally
we're going for the effect.
We're going for the effect. We're going for the metaphor. So it's literally as if the penthouse is almost in the center of the sun, if you want. So that's the whole idea behind it. I really like how it came out with the empty frames, the empty picture frames or painting frames, which again, a lot of artists would come to me, a lot of production artists are like, yeah, well, what is this? Why are you putting these empty frames? I'm like, I just think they look cool, and they make people ask questions, you know. So even though there's no answers, but yeah. So again,
and having that in the center of the sun reminds me as well that the company name Taiyang is Chinese for the sun.
Exactly.
Yeah. I really like this part of the penthouse where we foreshadow to the Panchea events. Actually, we see Zhao's costume in here with the Hiron project, as we're going to see in Panchea later on. Actually, it's a really, really nice costume.
It's an amazing costume. It was designed by Chippy, or Brian Duggan. His artist name is Chippy. Amazing concept artist, brilliant guy. Did an amazing job to create this suit that looks techie but yet fashionable at the same time, type of thing. And it's great that it's just there hanging in the rack, and because she's obviously preparing the whole thing, but you have no idea at that point.
Exactly.
And I believe there are actually blueprints. There are blueprints of
there are blueprints of the Hiron project on her desk.
And there are emails in various computers along the way
that foreshadow
a lot of it. So
I love it that those things don't make sense when you play them the first time, but if you replay a second time, now there's a brand new world that opens to your eyes. So yeah,
it's the I see dead people thing.
Yes.
Pac-Man sees dead people.
I'm sure it was just a clerical error. See, as transfer of ownership is officially declared, the purchase gives Taiyang a significant increase in global market share. This is Eliza Kassan, reporting to you live, I guess. To China now is details about a bold maneuver by Biotech Corporation.
Access granted.
Sources close to the matter inform me that it has successfully purchased rival corporations and Protec of Scotland. Enpro stock had taken a dip earlier today as rumors began to circulate, accusing CEO Ollie McTavish of embezzlement. McTavish denied the claims, but could not dispute how millions of dollars I'm sure it was just a clerical error, quipped CEO
Access granted.
This is Eliza Kassan, reporting to you live from Enpro stock had taken a dip earlier today as rumors began to circulate, accusing CEO Oliver.
Okay, so we talk through the game during different cutscenes like that they're challenging to do and everything, and sometimes we were debating among ourselves what how we should pursue the scene and everything. And with this one is the one that we debated the most within the team because. We wanted to have Zion Rue to show that she's a very strong character. That even though she plays the weak link, actually she might be a much more important and strong character than what we can perceive. And at the same time, we always try to avoid Jensen feeling like that he can be manipulated too easily, and try to avoid him feeling stupid and whatnot. And in the original scene, he was not necessarily playing that way, but
it was different. We made some mistakes in the initial writing because we really wanted it to be that he actually did surprise her because she was in the shower. She had just finished a shower and she came out, but we couldn't get the shower effects that we wanted. And the whole way that we approached the scene was the idea was that he actually did take her by surprise. She was terrified because she's part of the Illuminati, and she thought he was an Illuminati hitman coming to get her.
Right.
And in the course of the scene, she realized, oh, no, I know exactly who it is, and she turned the tables on him. And the whole idea we wanted was to go against the cliche. Unfortunately, because we couldn't get the showers working and we couldn't do all that, we ended up having to put her in the room, and then it looks like she's awake
a lot of
and
people
aware
came
of
to us,
him,
right, telling us that Adam's character wasn't right there, right?
Adam, what the hell did you do? The entire building's on alert.
Panic room. She's got a goddamn panic room.
Yeah, well, so do I. Forget about her right now. Get to the hangar bay, fast. He's in the warehouse area somewhere, and I want him found immediately. Don't get out alive. You hear me? This area on the dumper and find his head. Now! Who's there? Still.
Someone's running.
up. You anywhere near their hangar bay?
I'm heading there now.
Great. Get those bay doors open or this rescue attempt ain't gonna happen.
So this sequence with the two box guards that you have to face or try to avoid, and opening the roof for Farida to pick you up, it was really challenging because at the beginning we mentioned probably a few times Narikan, which was an important character.
Well, he was the head of Taiyang Medical Security, and he was supposed to be an important character, depending on how you play.
It turned out not to be.
Yeah, and he turned out not to be. He was supposed to appear in Upper Hengsha as her bodyguard and all this stuff, and so we were going to have this be a boss fight against him and the box guards.
Yeah, it was a mini boss fight.
A mini boss fight, and then he ended up, he could have been dead by this point because we brought him in at various points.
Yeah.
And so then we ended up now dealing with the fact that we had to get the box guards and you had to get Farida to land, and how could we deal that if the player
So
went?
we cut him because in the end it was not a big consequence, like a relevant consequence. So we focus on the two box guards, but the thing is that we wanted you to maintain your ability to sneak by or to fight. So if you fight the box guards, it's pretty straightforward. You destroy them and end of the story. Now you go and you can activate the beam to open the roof and get Farida in. But if you're more a stealthy player, we had to find the tricks on how you have to disable to link the box guards to the security systems, and until that they're disabled you cannot open the roof. And now today it seems pretty straightforward and simple, but to get to that, I would say, relatively elegant and simple solution, it took quite a lot of time to get there.
Security measures disabled. Hangar doors unlocked.
Jensen, time to hightail it back to Detroit. Get in.
We're not going to Detroit.
What?
We're going to Montreal. I'll explain en route.
Damn right you will.
So we get in Montreal here, and actually the story behind why Montreal is in the game is very simple. For a very long time, since we're from Montreal, we're making games in Montreal. I always wanted us to take advantage of it because we always go everywhere else in the world, and we never go to our own country or our own city. And with Deus Ex Human Revolution, it was the perfect time for Montreal to be in the game, so I made sure that it was in.
Represent.
Jensen, it's Pritchard. Malik tells me you want Eliza Kassan's location.
If it's not too much trouble.
It's not. I bypassed the firewall easily, and I've pulled up a 3D model of their floor plan. Her office is in the tower, room 404.
On my way.
Access granted.
Jensen, something's not right. Picus is a 24-hour global news network. Why isn't anyone answering their phones?
I'll get back to you on that.
So I mentioned already that, you know, we're coming into the headquarters of one of the world's biggest news broadcasting, and it was kind of fun for us to come up with the name for Picus. We wanted something that tied into Greek mythology or Roman mythology. I can't remember which one. And actually, Picus is a god. He's one of the lower gods, and he's associated with Ares, the god of war. But his particular specialty is he is the god of manure.
Of manure.
I
remember this for like manipulation or something.
No,
manure.
but manure is bullshit, and we figured that a corporation that's manipulating news.
How great is that?
And for the sake of the Illuminati, who are trying to cultivate that war kind of thing, he would be perfect. So that's where the name Picus comes from.
That is awesome.
So we've got tons and tons of emails throughout Picus, and what was real fun about these ones is, first of all, I basically assigned the entire thing to Jean-Francois Champagne, one of our narrative designers on the game, and he really, really had a lot of fun with it. And I think a lot of the emails that you'll read are actually based on similar things to what actually happens here in Eidos Montreal.
Real situations in the studio.
Real situations in the studio, and they're all slightly twisted and slightly hidden to some of the human resource type stuff that goes on here. And the other thing that's really cool about them is because Picus is in Montreal, and Montreal is French Canadian, and it's a bilingual city, we really wanted to have French emails in here.
The only thing that with that, I mentioned in the Hengsha, like I want to have the players to feel the flavor of the place by being exposed to the local language. I do feel that we could have gone a little bit farther with the French emails because even though it's bilingual city, it's mostly a French speaking city. So I thought that we were a little bit too conservative. We should have pushed it more. But in the end, the ones who are there, it's kind of cool for the French Canadians out there.
And it should have been more than the email, like the signs and everything.
Exactly.
Like there's a few French things, but it should have been pushed quite a bit more.
Yeah.
And the other thing we tried to really get across here is the sense that because you're coming into this and it's supposed to be a 24-hour news broadcast center, there should be people in here, and yet there aren't. And the reason they aren't is, of course, because a trap has been laid for Adam Jensen. And so one of the things that was important was to really show that people had left in a hurry.
And that didn't work out too well.
Check the emergency activation logs, Pritchard. I've got a sealed fire door here, and I suspect it's not supposed to be.
All the building's fire doors are locked down, but you should have a clear path to room 404.
So we've got tons and tons of emails throughout Picus, and what was real fun about these ones is, first of all, I basically assigned the entire thing to Jean-Francois Champagne, one of our narrative designers on the game, and he really, really had a lot of fun with it. And I think a lot of the emails that you'll read are actually based on similar things to what actually happens here in Eidos Montreal.
Real situations in the studio.
Real situations in the studio, and they're all slightly twisted and slightly hidden to some of the human resource type stuff that goes on here. And the other thing that's really cool about them is because Picus is in Montreal, and Montreal is French Canadian, and it's a bilingual city. We really wanted to have French emails in here.
The only thing that with that, I mentioned in the Hengsha, like I want to have the players to feel the flavor of the place by being exposed to the local language. I do feel that we could have gone a little bit farther with the French emails because even though it's bilingual city, it's mostly a French speaking city. So I thought that we were a little bit too conservative. We should have pushed it more. But in the end, the ones who are there, it's kind of cool for the French Canadians out there.
And it should have been more than the email, like the signs and everything.
Exactly.
Like there's a few French things, but it should have been pushed quite a bit more.
Yeah.
And the other thing we tried to really get across here is the sense that because you're coming into this and it's supposed to be a 24-hour news broadcast center, there should be people in here, and yet there aren't. And the reason they aren't is, of course, because a trap has been laid for Adam Jensen. And so one of the things that was important was to really show that people had left in a hurry.
And that didn't work out too well.
Oh.
No, I mean,
I
you
think
get
it
the
did.
sense,
You get
but
the sense of it.
we could have pushed a little bit more.
Well, basically, the sense is just coffee cups that are turned over everywhere. And that's pretty much what it is. I mean, we wanted to push it a bit more than that. But, yeah, whatever. It's, I guess it's there, yeah.
Looks like everyone left in a hurry, Pritchard. The place is deserted.
Because somebody triggered a fire alarm and then silenced it. I suggest you find Miss Kassan quickly and get out of there.
So now we're getting close to Eliza's room, 404, and eventually as you move through the facility, you'll go to the room 802.11. And when Mary came to me with that proposal and everything, at first I was kind of reluctant because I felt it was a little bit too much. Well, too on the nose.
But people might not realize. I mean, Eliza is, of course, named after the first AI that was somewhat showing signs of intelligence, and that's why we wanted that name. And 404 is a failure, an internet failure, a warning message that says file not found. And so we kind of found that to be good. And then, of course, the room 802.11 is the universal wireless transmission. And so I really wanted to tie all that in as subtle hints about the truth of Eliza.
But to me, it was that, like, I was like, oh, is it too on the nose? But I thought, like, because we work in the computer industry and everything, and we're more familiar with all those things, for us, it's a little bit, it's obvious. But for
me, I knew about the 404, the other one, I didn't know what it was.
But for most people that are not into these things and everything, it's like, they don't know those things. So in the end, I thought it was a really good idea, even though maybe for the more, I would say, computer savvy people, it was like, it's so obvious. Yeah.
And I figured for computer savvy, it would be obvious and little chuckle, and other people might learn something by us talking about it.
And even if they do think that's what it is, they still don't have a firm answer at that point.
Absolutely.
So it's not the end of the world.
So again, another wonderful cutscene. I really enjoyed this one, and I think I really enjoy it because I really love the character of Eliza and what we wanted to achieve with her, and I think we got really lucky with the voice actress on this one.
Yeah, we had the lovely and talented Kim Bubbs. She was fantastic, and I remember when we were doing the casting, We definitely wanted a bit of that sort of childlike innocence, sort of naivete, almost like becoming self-aware. And for me, when I heard her voice, just when I heard her read through the lines, I knew right away. I was like, God, I hope Mary likes her the way I like her, because she's fantastic. And it really, for me, there was a certain purity and innocence in her voice and the way she spoke that
it had just enough of an eerie quality to it, and yet
AI
still sounded young. And it was real fun too, because like in writing the dialogues, I really wanted to make sure that she never used contractions, and so I was very careful about that. And unfortunately, during one of the news broadcasts, I couldn't be in the studio, and they let her get a contraction in, and I was so mad when I found out. But what can you do?
Jensen, get out of there now!
Tell me you saw that, Pritchard.
Later. Right now, I'm detecting multiple radio signals converging on your location. It's a trap.
We knew that. And I'm not leaving without Eliza Kazan. So find her while I look for a way to get downstairs.
Get on the upper 10 block. He's probably crawling around here somewhere. Let's get you some of this. Yes, sir. Hostile on the tanker pad! Confirm sighting. Hostile on the run. Hostile on the run. I see you. Hostile is on the run! Try me now! Hostile on the run! Hostile on the run!
Pritchard, have you found Eliza Kazan yet?
Possibly. Back in room 404, I detected a holo-processing cloud more sophisticated than anything I've ever seen. It was sent from an area of the complex that wasn't showing up on the 3D layout.
You found a secret lair.
A sub-basement level that somebody spent an awful lot of time trying to conceal. It's connected to the tower by a funicular. Look for a staircase in the back of the TV newsroom and you'll reach it.
Access granted.
Jensen, I've been tracking your progress through the 3D layout. You're close to the funicular.
Any chance it's sitting there waiting for me?
Where would the fun be in that? You'll have to call it and wait. Oh, and Jensen, when you do, they're going to know where you are.
Access granted.
So here we are inside the funicular. The funicular, which was one of the goals that I had, was I was going to teach everyone who plays this game what a funicular is, which was really funny because I couldn't think of another name. But we had some actual plans for this funicular, is this ride that never actually ended up happening. One of which was we wanted to have a conversation gameplay with Eliza and have the elevator stop halfway down and end up having Eliza inside of it and appear, and you would have to actually have this conversation to convince her that that she should let you get to the bottom and actually help you get to her, because she was very afraid about how that would work. And we actually had written something and we tested it and we'd almost gotten it, but we ended up it took so long to do these things that we ended up having to cut that. So
cut few, and since it was not necessarily the most important one in the game, then we chose to remove that one.
Mm-hmm. And the funicular, if I remember correctly, it actually really exists in
it
Olympic
exists.
Stadium.
Actually, it's a place. It's in the Olympic Stadium, and you take the funicular to get to the end of the tower on the top, and you can have a beautiful sight at the entire city and beyond. It's really spectacular.
You can see all of 450.
Exactly, which is the suburbs around Montreal, because the 514 are so cool.
Yeah,
those are Montrealers.
Yes, we are.
Access granted.
So here we are inside the funicular. The funicular, which was one of the goals that I had, was I was going to teach everyone who plays this game what a funicular is. Which was really funny because I couldn't think of another name. But we had some actual plans for this funicular, is this ride that never actually ended up happening. One of which was we wanted to have a conversation gameplay with Eliza and have the elevator stop halfway down and end up having Eliza inside of it. And appear, and you would have to actually have this conversation to convince her that that she should let you get to the bottom and actually help you get to her, because she was very afraid about how that would work. And we actually had written something and we tested it and we'd almost gotten it, but we ended up it took so long to do these things that we ended up having to cut that. So
cut few, and since it was not necessarily the...
That's done it. They'll be converging on your position and the funicular will take some time to get there. It isn't a high-speed elevator.
Great.
Not to worry. I'm sure your new friends will make the wait interesting. I'll keep you up to date on his progress.
Thanks for nothing, Francis.
So here we are inside the funicular. The funicular, which was one of the goals that I had, was I was going to teach everyone who plays this game what a funicular is, which was really funny because I couldn't think of another name. But we had some actual plans for this funicular, is this ride that never actually ended up happening. One of which was...
The funicular is halfway there, Jensen. ride is there, Jensen. Get moving. Jensen, I'm beginning to think that not everything is what it appears to be at Piker's Communications.
What gave you that idea? The hidden sub-basement, the fact that a 24-hour news network has been cleared of all workers, or the heavily armed guards trying to kill me?
Spare me the sarcasm. I'm talking about how easy it's been to bypass the firewall and access their systems. At least, parts of them.
Whatever do you mean?
I mean, I feel as if I'm being directed to some areas of the network and kept away from others. Only no security system I know of can do that on the fly.
Figure it out later, Pritchard. If I'm gonna catch Miss Kazan in action, I need a more accurate destination than the secret lair.
The hollow processing cloud you encountered in room 404 was accompanied by a massive power spike. The spike originated in one of the sub-basement's bigger rooms, 80211. I suspect that's where she broadcasts from.